Hi, this is Chris Hanbury from Serious Squash. You're watching episode 93 of Squash Shots. And I figured because last week we looked at the backhand technique, I would look a little bit at the forehand drive technique and talk about some of the important technical key factors that I see people have trouble with. Again, you could say racket preparation is always going to be an important one. So getting the racket up, generally high, unless you're trying to get under the ball if you're under pressure. But you can see I have my elbow up. My elbow's bent. Racket face is slightly open, but it's going to open as I start my swing there. So some people go too much around. They get too big, and then they actually close their racket face in their backswing. And they do that to try to get it more power, but then obviously your backswing's a lot bigger, which means you're going to have less accuracy. So I think that's something you got to be careful with. But again, if you watch the feet here, you're going to see that just that little step that my weight transfers. So when you have proper weight transfer, whatever the shot is, that's always going to give you a smoother, better timed swing. So that's going to be always a key point on any shot. But if we look at the swing more specifically, so trying to get that racket up early, so before that ball's bounced, the racket's up, racket face is going to be open, or here it's going to be open as I start my swing. You'll see that I'm actually leading with the elbow and the butt of the racket head, and then I whip through, and this is going to allow me to have a more compact swing, so I can actually get the ball out of the back corner with this type of a swing. If my elbow wasn't bent here, if it was straight, then when I swung, obviously I'm going to put a lot of strain on my elbow, my shoulder, but then I'm also not going to be able to have as tight of a swing, meaning that I might clip the back wall. You probably can see when people do that in squash. So that's definitely one of the common faults I see on the forehand. For me specifically, one of the hardest things is actually going to be keeping the ball straight, because on the forehand, unlike the backhand, is we swing and it's kind of so fluid to use your shoulders for your swing. But as you do that, you can see the shoulders, hips kind of want to open up. And if you're not grounded with your feet, then you tend to open up your shoulders too much and you don't stay parallel to the side wall, and then you end up hitting the ball kind of loose. And I've tried to work on this a lot the last couple of years, and it's gotten better. But you can see here, like, look how much I'm opening up after I hit. And that's going to be normal because I'm going to want to get to the tee in a game. But, I do hit the ball much straighter if I can actually stay more parallel with my shoulders to the side wall, which is a tricky one because we were saying last week on the backhand, we don't want to have our arms swinging, right? There's no power. Forehand's a little bit different. You can see I'm swinging. It's basically, you can see similarities to like a golf swing, a baseball swing, just that fluid motion. But it's hard to not have the hips and shoulders involved. And that's one of the really big challenges I find. And then I guess here, if we look at one last thing, I would say for me, again, on the forehand side, it's going to be about keeping that swing straight through the contact zone, so you're not flipping your racket face over too quickly at the end of that swing. So if you watch, and you can see that the racket face has a tendency to want to go towards that left shoulder, but to hit the ball straight, you really need the racket face going nice and straight-ish through the hitting zone. So let's see if we can watch here. So right through here. So you want it going straight-ish. And one last maybe key point. So this is basically any shot, but so you don't want, here is not too bad, but if I see that racket head lower, and it's basically you've broken your wrist and the racket head's way lower than the hand, then that's always going to be trouble. That means you're going to have a really wristy swing. So here my posture is not perfect. Just I guess getting older, doing a lot of sole hitting. But I'm always looking for that racket head to be at least the height of the handle or of my hand and the handle of the racket when I make contact. So I can hit the ball on the back of the ball. So this one's going to be really low, so that's going to be hard to do. Let's see if I can have a better example here. So I like the hand. See, there you can see it's parallel to the floor, perpendicular to the side wall. If I had just dropped it, which I think I did, I was kind of lazy in this one, but the ball's low. and the racket face is down there when you're making contact, nothing good is going to happen. And that's where people generally don't have the proper leg strength or stability or mobility, all those things, to actually play that drive with that kind of racket face position. Because anytime the ball's low and it's not as bouncy, then you need to get lower, so you don't have that position happening where you just totally break your wrist, and then that does actually turn into a golf swing, which is not good for squash. So I know a lot of kind of key points here. Forehand, something I've worked on a lot. I've tried to coach a lot. I've worked on a lot with a lot of people, and it's a tricky one. And there's a lot of kind of key points for me, more so than on the backhand side. So hopefully one or two of these will apply to you, and you can practice them when you get back out on the squash court, hopefully soon if you're not already out there. So thanks a lot for tuning in, and join me next week for episode 94.